It's game time. Strike out the MC, and if he tempts me, I knock him out like Jack Dempsey. Talk about the ball, talk about the ball. You know, and I know you're nice like that. Team Army, bullseye, direct hit, don't miss. Let's go. Game time. Yo. Game time, I'm the famous and fancy. No shucking and jiving, no Amos and Andy. Fucking with the ruckus, the sailors is handy. Clap guns, you whack, son Jackson and Randy. Candy grab, of course, but candy scrap the balls. Slam cats on floors, you baby pack.
So Errol Spence successfully defended his IBF Welterweight Championship against Lamont Peterson, retiring Peterson in the 7th round. I mean, the fight went as I kind of expected it to. I did feel like Peterson was a little bit more technically skilled than Spence, and he touched him up a little bit. I felt like he would, manage to hit him a little bit here and there, managed to evade some of what Spence did a little bit here and there. But Peterson wasn't even as evasive as I thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to use a lot more kind of side-to-side movement, especially with his feet. I thought he was going to use a lot more footwork, kind of trying to pivot around Spence. But he largely just kind of stood like right in front of him with the high guard, and I guess looked to kind of just tire Spence out by attrition. Almost do like a mobile version of a rope-a-dope almost. And, basically try to get Spence into the later rounds and I guess maybe drown him late or something. But he just got hands put on him, man. He just got beat up, beat down. Spence is a puncher. He is a bona fide puncher. He's a guy that you could tell he hits hard with every shot. He's a guy that, really lays into every shot. Of course, he's not especially defensively sound, and that's been the main critique of him. And it's a critique that it's a valid critique. It's a critique that still stands. Who knows really how he's going to react when he's facing off against a puncher who can also take a little bit of what he's got and, really give it back to him. I mean, Brook did to a certain degree. Kell Brook did, of course. But, I mean, there is the possibility that Brook could have been, had a certain degree of damage and wear and tear still on him from the Golovkin beatdown, from getting his face shattered and, the Spence then shattered the other side of his face. Which, just further proves how big of a puncher that Spence is. But even still, if that was Keith Thurman landing those same shots that Lamont Peterson landed, hell, if it was Danny Garcia landing those same shots that he was landing, or shit, if it was Matisse that was landing those same shots that Peterson landed, who knows how Spence may have reacted a little bit. I mean, he definitely shows a good degree of grit. I don't think that he would just completely buckle or melt down or anything like that. But still, it's more intriguing to see a fighter fight through more adversity than what Spence faced against Peterson. This was definitely a step back in competition and opposition compared to what Kell Brook was, of course. And everybody knew that going into it. I think that Spence did take a little bit too long to kind of get rid of Peterson. I do think that a lot of the people, I've seen a lot of people on Twitter and, like even fighters and some of the pundits and everything, some of the fans, like saying that, like, oh my God, Spence, he's just so pinpoint accurate. I don't really think that Spence was all that pinpoint accurate. I mean, he basically had a guy doing not unlike what Joshua Clottey did against Manny Pacquiao. He had a guy basically right in front of him, just like I said, kind of doing a mobile rope-a-dope. So Spence pretty much had his option of choosing exactly when, where, and how he wanted to hit Lamont Peterson. Whether it was going to be to the body, to the arms, to the shoulders, around the guard, to the head, through the guard, on into the face. And a lot of those shots, really didn't land cleanly. They were very clubbing shots. But once again, Spence is a bona fide puncher. And because of the fact that he carries so much power, he doesn't necessarily have to hit you right on the button or hit you direct accurately in order to really do damage to you. He can just really accumulate that damage over time, just off of beating you up. Just like I said, beating you up with those kind of grazing, clubbing shots around the arms and the shoulders and everything. Those shots that are gonna have Lamont Peterson sore for the next week, basically. So Spence did the damn thing. He did an absolute number on Peterson. This has been kind of a trend in what Spence has been doing recently. Outside of the Brook fight, really just kind of just lambasting and bashing up opponents who are typically more durable, or typically kind of proven on the world stage at the very least, to be able to really put up a fight and normally last either the entire 12 rounds, or for the most part most of a full bout. Peterson had only been taken out previously by Lucas Matisse. Got caught with just a flush left hook in the midst of kind of trading with Matisse, and in a style that he used in that fight, not unlike what he used here in this fight against Spence. But Spence just kind of marches forward with his career. Calling out Keith Thurman, of course, trying to unify. If whoever wins that fight would be the holder of 3 belts, not just the IBF, but also Thurman's WBC and the WBA. But as it stands, it's looking like that's not likely to happen anytime soon, unless maybe the money gets put up for it. Really, it's the ball's somewhat in Thurman's corner, but at the same time, he also does have mandatories that he's going to have to take care of sooner or later. Sean Porter, of course, is a WBC mandatory, and his WBA mandatory is actually going to be decided this coming weekend between Tebakiram and Lucas Matisse. So I'm sure Spence really should be actually looking pretty closely at that fight. Considering, who knows, maybe if they're able to offer some good money to the winner of that fight, he could fight the winner of that fight, become the mandatory for Keith Thurman after the fact, and hey, guess what? You have the regular version of the super title that Thurman has. I guess the WBA has said that they're kind of redoubling their efforts in order to clear up their title situation at every weight class. So that would be a part of it, if Spence were to aim at the winner of the Kiram Matisse fight. And actually, I think that would be a very good fight for him. I think it would be definitely a step up from Peterson. As high as Brook was, that remains to be seen. Got to see how Kiram and Matisse look against each other. And, Kiram is taking a big step up against Matisse. We got to see exactly what he's all about. I'll do a preview or I'll try to at the very least do a preview video for that. But as it stands, Spence is easy. He's kind of fighting in a bit of a league of his own, considering the fact that it seems unlikely that he's going to be getting a Thurman fight, and unlikely that he's going to be getting the likes of Porter and Garcia in the ring as well. Beyond that, who else is there really? Garcia's fighting against Rios, and I'm sure Rios would have a go at him if Rios manages to upset Garcia. Other than that, even in just looking at the IBF rankings, Carlos Ocampo, pretty good opponent. Rashidi Ellis would be a really good opponent. I wouldn't mind seeing that. You got Ray Robinson out there. You got Carlos Molina still plugging away out there, former light middleweight champion Carlos Molina. Yordenis Ugas wouldn't be a bad kind of a stay busy fight. Very good opponent, solid fighter. But as it stands, Spence, even if he's not necessarily the most technically brilliant fighter out there, he is a physical force as a welterweight. He punches extremely hard. He seems to be pretty damn durable. He walks you down. He has high volume, high output, high power. He's just a heavy impact type of fighter. People will bring up the idea of maybe him versus Crawford at some point in the future. I honestly don't see that ever happening. Not anytime soon anyway. Not anytime this decade at the very least. And I think the people around Crawford will be the ones that have a lot to do with that, which is really unfortunate because that could really be the premier fight. Outside of Thurman, really that might be the premier fight at welterweight, depending on what happens with Crawford and Horn. Of course, there's no guarantee that Crawford beats Horn, even though most people favor him to do so, including myself. But that would be a great fight. In a way, it would kind of remind me of what's going to be taking place really soon between Srisaket Rungvisai and Juan Francisco Estrada, where it's like you have just a bona fide fucking brick wall of a punching physical force. That being Srisaket or Spence, versus a very technically sound, supremely gifted, well-timed technical boxer in Estrada and Crawford, incidentally, with regards to the way the styles match up. They're completely aligned 100%, but just in terms of the way the style matchups look, it's those two matchups kind of make me think of the other in a few different ways. And I think incidentally, depending on what happens with Estrada and Street Sakeda, I think the rhythm of that fight may wind up looking a lot like what may eventually happen with Spence and Crawford if they do happen to manage to make that fight. But I'm not holding my breath whatsoever to imagining that that's going to get really made realistically speaking. But Spence continues to roll on and steamroll some of these opponents. I'm really hoping that we really get to see him fight through a bit more adversity. I want to see a little bit more of what we saw in the Brook fight. I really want to see this guy come completely proven above and beyond. Just like I want to see every fighter. Him versus Thurman is just a great fight. It really is. Thurman, I wanna see Thurman kind of land a good shot on Spence. I want to see Spence going after Thurman's body, chasing him, trying to freaking, to break up those ribs. I want to see it, man. To me, that's just a really intriguing fight, and I'm hoping it gets done sooner than later, man. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that's happening anytime soon, but I definitely see it as more realistic than the other matchup that I already mentioned. But that's pretty much it, man. That's all I got to pretty much say about Spence and Peterson. Spence broke Peterson up. Peterson's trainer was saying that he's going to have a long talk with him about what's going to be next. Who knows? Peterson may retire. He's made some pretty good money in his time. He's fought some very notable opponents. But it remains to be seen. Fighters die hard in this sport. They don't go away calmly. They don't go quiet into that good night. So I get a feeling this isn't the last that we're gonna see of Peterson. Nah, but it's definitely not the last that we're seeing of Spence. So let's see what he's gonna do in the future. But that's all for this one. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.